All right, we're live. Welcome to Artcasters episode 371. It's kind of crazy that we're that many episodes in. You'll notice that Scott Cirkland is not here today yet. He will probably appear a little bit later. I believe he is either fighting a horde and pack of wolves, or he might be having an anniversary dinner. One of two. You decide which.
I think they're having the anniversary dinner. The dinner is the pack of wolves. So
yeah, that's true. I think he fought a pack of wolves, and now they are dining upon his triumphant victory.
Yeah, wolf meat is tough and lean, but it's filling. So
yeah, and it tastes a lot better when the entire pack was feistily trying to murder you.
You can't just have one because it leaves you ravenous.
I love it. I'm excited about the topic tonight. Our guest, a lot of you guys are familiar with. If you aren't yet, you will be at the end of this, and hopefully you will be subscribed and watching his comic creation along with all of us after the fact. But before we get into introducing our guest, we'll kind of make the rounds and kind of introduce ourselves. So I'm Joshua Kemble. You're on my channel. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. The Artcasters kind of swings between mine and Corey Kerr's channels. So you want to make sure you're subscribed to both of us. And again, hit that bell. Also, if you're watching this, I'm trying to get better at saying this during streams. Like you guys who are watching it in chats, hit like right now. Don't wait. Just hit like. We're waiting. Aside from that, I make graphic novels and comics. Jacob's Apartment is a slice of life comic about two young 20-something roommates that are polar opposites, and through life circumstances. Wait a minute. I hear a clearing of a pack of wolves. I believe the wolves have been defeated and eaten. I think that we might have a Scott Cirkland joining us soon. So if you haven't yet, pick up a copy of Jacob's Apartment at bookstores everywhere. Ask your local librarian to carry it. That's a huge thing you can do. Again, hit like. And then aside from that, also there's Two Stories, which is my autobiographical comic trying to destigmatize hard conversations about mental illness like depression and panic disorder, other such things. Black and white indie comic done in the vein of Black and white indie comics. That's the best pitch I've ever done. If you're into really underground stuff, check that out. Support the arts and stuff like that. And other than that, Corey, where can people find you? As I drink from my Lily's Coffee House mug, our favorite coffee shop from a vacation in the past.
I'm so indie that I go black and yellow. And so
all right.
Yeah. You can find my stuff at CoreyKerr.com. You can find this brand new piece that hasn't really been announced yet at CoreyKerr.com/store. And you can get on the email newsletter to get the videos that I'm making and that type of stuff. Dang it, Josh. I'm not going to go. Josh has pulled up something extremely annoying so that as soon as I let this go, he's got that going. So that's one. So yeah, you can find that stuff and subscribe to the email newsletter and all that jazz. I think next week it'll be on my show. So that's just follow along. Awesome. Now I can't find my mouse. Oh, there it is.
So I was just bringing up the black and yellow indie. That's
as indie as I am. Black and yellow right there.
It's the worst joke I have ever told in my life.
You're gonna get a thumbs up right back if you could tell us what band that was.
I love it. Speaking of like indie bands and cool indie stuff, our guest tonight is Christopher Runciman. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, we were about to get to Chris.
No, get to Scott.
Joining just
Scott, you have a little gristle in your teeth.
Do I?
Yeah.
No. Scott, I'm just kidding.
Scott, when you take out the alpha wolf, you got to make sure to like clean your teeth afterward. We were joking that you fought off a ravenous.
No, don't tell him. Make him go back and watch the video.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I had
Reacted
everything
it out.
set up here before, so when I came back, I could log right on, and then for some reason, I come back and my OBS is like just a blank screen. So somehow I figured it out. So
I think that's just the aftermath of fighting a pack of wolves. Like, it really messes up your OBS. So Scott, are you good to let people know where they can find your stuff and all that fun stuff? Also, Jim Lujan said he's here for the gristle.
awesome. Yeah, so you can find my stuff at my website at circworks.com, and the stuff that I am talking about is my digital products like the Comic Maker Toolkit, the Amazing Comic Book World Builder, the Hero Design Studio, the amazing I think I mentioned that. Yeah. Well, all that stuff, but all kind of cool tools to make comics and cool stuff like that. And my comics, Young and the Dead, is a kids versus zombie adventure story. Just think Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. So if you're into like Goonies and Monster Squad and all that those cool kid-centric action films from the 80s, just imagine something like that, but with zombies. And then my YouTube channel is still up, even though I haven't been posting, but I will be coming back hopefully soon. But there's still a bunch of stuff on my YouTube channel that you can check out. So
Nice.
Including my series, Making Comics 101, everything you want to know about making comics. It's the most comprehensive free course on making comics that you're going to find anywhere. And it's on my YouTube channel at Circworks on YouTube.
I love it. And you guys should also check out Scott's Patreon too, if you want to see a little bit of behind the scenes of what he's up to currently in the wait for some Scott Circland YouTube content. Honestly, it's a good way to support him. He's been doing YouTube for years. So, but before you go to his Patreon, hit like right now. But yeah, make sure you support Scott on Patreon.
And hopefully soon there will be a new studio tour of the studio that I have. I mean, you guys haven't. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess you have kind of seen. Josh hasn't really seen much of it yet.
Yeah, I've heard it goes in an entirely brand new direction. That's what I've heard.
Yes. But I'll be doing a tour, hopefully on my Patreon pretty soon, to get people psyched up for the new stuff that I'm working on. So
exciting. Okay, so now let's get to our guest, Christopher. Christopher Runciman is awesome. We've had him on the show before. He is doing live streams currently, almost daily, that you guys should be tuning into. So hopefully if you guys are not following Christopher on YouTube before, hopefully by the end of this interview, you will all be subscribed and following Christopher. He's doing really amazing stuff. But he also is taking a really interesting approach to comics, and I think it'll make for a really good topic because it's an approach I don't know how many of us have really taken, and it's really fascinating and cool and seems really challenging. So before we get kind of into the meat of the topic, Christopher, where can people check out your live streams, and also where can they check out your comics?
My YouTube channel is just my name. Christopher Runciman, Runciman. I tag all my pages with run-c-man so that people know how to pronounce my name. But it's Runciman is my last name. So, and then my website is equally confusing. It's christopherrunciman.ca. I like to set a challenge.
I like it. The CA, is that for Canada or
Canada?
All right, I love it.
Yeah, it's so cold up here. Somebody needs to wear a toque.
Okay, so the topic tonight, I think, should hopefully cover like a lot of what you've been doing for your one-page comics. You will kind of take somebody's random suggestion on a live stream. And it can be like the most off-base suggestion. We're going to show examples of this to you like a little bit later. But it can be like a really just off-the-wall suggestion. I think Jim Lujan at one point was like, you need to do like a horse riding a bicycle. And I forget the specifics of it, but
it's a horse riding a bicycle, playing a guitar on top of a fourth dimensional parallax.
Yeah, so he was naming that as a specific challenge, kind of to be a pain, because that would be a hard thing for a lot of artists to do, and yet you tackle it, and that's what you do for that one-page comic for that day, and it's kind of insane to watch the process where you'll take a random suggestion and make it into like a viable comic that's either funny or profound or like has like kind of a beginning, middle, and end as a story, and looks like super professional, and almost are able to knock these out daily. And so it's an interesting thing, but I thought that what might be nice is to talk about just the process of improvisation in comics, because to me, I was trying to think like, what is it that Christopher's comics like are so unique, at least the ones you've been doing recently, what makes them so unique? And I was realizing like, I don't know a lot of cartoonists that just take an idea like that and improv with it to make a story so quickly. And so I was just thinking, what are your thoughts on improvisation? And then how do you kind of approach improving with art and with comics and stuff? Yeah, so that's kind of my, I guess, question to get us going.
Well, thank you for all the very nice words. My head is getting so big it barely fits inside this frame. I look at comic books like jazz, right? For the longest time, I think that as we're trying to find that identifiable state of creativity for ourselves, there's a need to sort of figure out what's, it's like when you're singing a song, what's my voice? How do I sing? What am I playing? And any sort of creative outlet, any sort of any kind of exposition that we do, whether it's tactile or whether it's vocational, whether it's creative, whatever it is, if you're playing a piano, if you're writing a sonnet, if you're painting a picture, all of those different outputs is your voice. That's your form of creativity. And so when it comes to making comics, oftentimes I think the thing that holds most people back is, well, I've got this grand plan, right? How do I go about doing it? And I think that the easiest headspace that I think I've wrapped around for myself is, I've tried grand plan. One of the comics I did made it to issue 11. That'll be a book that I'm finishing this year, but just as a sort of a large volume 12 that incorporates synopsis of all the previous issues, because my style has changed so much that it's not going to make sense reading it all the way through. But I've done grand plans. I've done large end books. I've done 64-page books, etc. But there's something about, I wanted the liberty of not being pegged down to have to slog out a series, to have to slog out a long form project. But at the same time, I have this creative engine inside of me that wants to continually produce books. And so I thought, well, why not just do whatever I want at whatever given time? So when it comes from a state of improvisation, it's, what do I feel like drawing today? Or what crazy suggestion have I got? And I've got this book. And this is the book that I write down ideas that people confound me with. And I flip it open and I go, what do you think? I could do this one or this one. And somebody will usually chime in and say, do that one. And okay, that's the one we're doing today. And I just try to find an angle to approach the story with, and it all sort of comes and flows as it goes, right? Yeah. So, but as far as it goes for how does improvisation work, it really comes around from a state of just going with the moment, going with the momentum, and going with the getting into that super flow of workspace, and just you'll find the comic and you'll find the narration, or you'll find a direction of story with the visual as soon as you start putting down a visual element on the page. At least that's how I think, that's as close as I can describe the madness.
But I think that's kind of like a remarkable thing about watching those live streams, is the fact that you kind of without hesitation, like, again, will just kind of lean into some of the most absurd ideas. I think there was one point where I was watching one of your streams and you had a mermaid and and a unicorn, I think, having like a conversation.
Yeah.
And I just joked, like, because it's something I always wanted to draw, was like, oh, you should do a reverse mermaid. And like within 10 seconds, you just kind of scrap the mermaid and you draw a reverse mermaid, which is like the funniest thing, and just kind of switch up but change it up and flow with it and end up with this really hilarious result.
But that's the fun part. I mean, that's the fun part. So the thing about doing it as a live stream is that whoever's watching throws in a different rhythm, right? That's why I say it's like jazz, because somebody else says, oh, hey, it gives me a little different riff, and I'm off on that riff. Because why would I leave that on the table, right? Like, that's do a reverse mermaid. I'm like, what is a reverse mermaid? And so it's the fish on top. And I'm like, fish on top. That page is from Dee Dee Willingham's stream. She has a big bag, and in said bag is 100 or so pieces of paper, and on each one of those is written a word. And so she says, does anybody want some prompts out of the bag? And she'll pull out 3 words, put them on the table, and go, there you go. And so the expectation is that somebody does an image. I'm just the eccentric that does a whole page. And I post a page a day, and I live stream Monday through Friday. And as of today, I'm on, since January, just for the one page, it's not the other stuff that I do in the morning. But since January 1st, I'm on page 126.
Wow.
So at this point, I'm out of control, just completely out of control.
But it's kind of amazing funny to watch. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
I was just gonna say, I was until I met you, Christopher. I was always in awe of like the 24-hour comic challenge, and then to watch you every single day make a 1-page comic. I mean, that's even crazier than the 24-hour comic challenge.
It isn't. The 24-hour comic challenge seems daunting to me.
Well, it is too. But yeah, because at least you can have some sleep in between from day to day. But the thing is, it's similar in that, I mean, in the spirit of the 24-hour comic, I'm sure a lot of people kind of prep things and stuff when they go into it, but the idea of just getting the ideas and stuff right then and then just coming up with it, and it's amazing to me. And when this topic was proposed, I'm like, that's great, I want to hear what Christopher has to say, but I don't know what I can add, because that scares the crap out of me, of like having to like improv comic, but maybe it's a challenge I need to offer myself.
Yeah, but I'm going to debate with you. You have improv.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, there's a debate, and I just wanted to say thank you, Jim Lujan, for the super chat. That's cool.
A super chat. Oh, we can get some gristle.
Oh,
we got a gristle. Yeah, I love it.
Thanks, Jim.
You have already done improvisation, Scott, in order to craft such a wonderfully rounded tale for your Young and the Dead book, and all of those different characters that are in it, not just your core characters, but all those supporting characters.
Yeah, but I didn't think of them like on the spot. That
treated.
Okay.
No, you did, because whether or not it's a person sitting there in a chair going on a piece of paper, or if it's a person sitting down and plotting out their work, like, all art is improvisation. It's just a different speed.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe. Right.
I like that.
I don't know. When it comes to, like, I've done a few events where, because my background is fine art painting, and so I've done a few different events at galleries where everybody sits down at this time, and you've got 12 hours to do a painting in the gallery. And so here's all these random artists around this room. And it's whatever you've brought, right? And so it's really, so some people, like Josh was saying, will prep in advance. And I've always been that fly by the seat of my pants guy. And I enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm like that in a lot of ways too, but I guess I haven't really thought about that in relation to art. But you're probably right. But let me ask you this. So how much, because another thing that you do is you kind of work with a number of different mediums and styles and things like that. How much of that is like improv? How does that come about? How do you realize, is it based on like the topic? Oh, I think this is going to look better as a painting versus, just
it's
whatever medium.
Spontaneity for the most part, except for my lovely new Uli pen. This is a whole thing about a whole thing during the stream the other day as Chris went off, being very excited about his pen. It's just a nice fountain pen that has a beautiful tip on it, and of course that's the one that I like using. And of course I ran out of ink, and I can't order it into Canada. It's an American company that doesn't do Canadian, and so I had to go through this whole rigmarole. And my wife bought me 6 boxes of different colored inks for my fountain pen, so I'm locked up for this thing for like another couple of years.
Nice.
But no, it's entirely I'll look at my desk, and I've shown in streams, and I've shown some video of the randomness that I'm surrounded by in my studio. And so I'll just grab this. Hey, we're working in markers, because I've grabbed the thing of markers, or colored paint markers, or this one's a different brush tip, water-based markers. I've got all kinds of brushes. I've got all these Tombow pens and stuff. I've got watercolor brushes and watercolor blocks here to use. I've got a whole tray of inks here. It's whatever I'm doing today. There's no real plan in advance, because I feel it's not like I feel like it's cheating, but I feel like I've just finished the previous page that day, right? Because I usually finish a page like the hour or so before I do the stream, or the couple hours before the stream is when I'll just put the last little bits on it and then post it. And so you're coming off of that, whatever way I worked in that case, you're coming down from that. So you're not really thinking about your landing. You're not really thinking about, well, I did this page this way, I want to do this page that way. If I still feel like doing another ballpoint pen page, I'll do another ballpoint pen page. Like, there's no preconceived idea or preconceived choice of tools, or it really is highly improvisational in the sense that I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. I think it's the easiest way to describe it.
I love it.
Sorry.
Oh, well, I was going to ask, is there a part of you that you feel is kind of built for that? Like for the kind of the chaos of kind of doing it in the moment? Do you wind up preferring that result? I don't know. I'm just kind of curious.
A little bit, I think. For a lot of years, as I was, raising the kids, and I was a single dad for a while before I met Lori, and we Brady Bunched our whole gang. So it's dad time, working, like kids, work, kids, family time in the evenings. Everybody's in bed. Now I can do some art. And that was my working process for a long time. So I'm used to just what have I got around me, and going with that. So, like in the case of the Elmwood series that I did, the one that I've referred to earlier, the reason I can't collect that as one thing is that unfortunately and fortunately, I changed the way I was approaching that book every issue. And which is a little bit ridiculous for the poor people that were trying to be supportive of me and reading them as they came out, because it's different approaches, different materials that I'm using as I'm going from book to book to book, as I was trying to settle on what's the easiest way, what's the easiest pens or so on to use for printing. And it's all very on the plate. So it can't be collected as a thing. But so I've always done this. I've always worked in whatever way is working for me in the moment. But there's no choice process beyond just momentary inclination, I guess. Corbin's pushing his way into the studio. I have a studio cat that's with me in every stream, and he can't even let me alone to do this. There we go.
Yeah, his sixth sense was aroused. He's like, okay, there's something. He's recording. I got to be in there.
Let me ask this of you guys. When it comes to how you associate your own work, right? How do you, like, in what way, shape, or form do you feel might be your improvisational sense along the way for you? Because I think everybody has some at some point during the process.
No, that's a really good question. You wanna tee that off, Corey?
Yeah, I think mine. I think mine is probably, at least lately, with Esoteric Crumble Flux, the series I'm doing. That's more kind of an homage to some of the kind of old 15th century, 17th century images I was looking at late last year. I will get an idea, and then I will get some of the visuals that I want to put in that concept, and so I'll get some of the kind of symbols, and then I guess the improvisation would be kind of the assembly of that. I don't necessarily plan that out in the same way I would other types of compositions, and so I'm not doing it live necessarily, which I think is kind of a performative part of that improv, which is super interesting. But there's a little bit of play and a little bit of kind of messing around with kind of the compositional elements of that, because it's fairly kind of nonlinear, like compared to a lot of the stuff that I make or have made in the past, which is pretty logical and straightforward in the production of it. This is a little bit more. I might do some stuff, and I might do a wing in my sketchbook. I might do a skull on my iPad, and I might do something on my whatever, and then I kind of just cobble them all together at the end and kind of make it work. So there's some of that.
I like it.
Is that primarily digital, or are you doing some stuff in traditional medium and then scanning that and putting into your digital process?
It's lately has been mostly digital, but like this one, the skull and crown are those are in my sketchbook. The wings, I inked that in my sketchbook. Trying to think of what else. Oh, and the hands, those I inked the hands and the end of the sleeves in the sketchbook, and then most of that's going to be the rest of that is going to be Photoshop with some Fresco, with some Autodesk Sketchbook Pro, and a little bit of Adobe Illustrator.
The line quality that you have in your work is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's been something I've been working on, so it's nice to hear.
Yeah, no, it's very strong. It's I like that. I like when somebody can really lean into a medium of choice and embrace it fully, and I think you've done that.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've been trying to set up like a lot of what I've been doing in the last couple of years is I kind of set up like kind of guardrail rules, like for this project or this series that I'm doing, there's, I try to keep it within these rules. And I kind of make new ones or break them kind of as I go along. But this one was mainly intended to be completely black and white, and to see if I could get as much value contrast and gradient out of totally opaque black line as much as I could, which has been fun.
See, even that rule setting is an improvisational notion, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I guess I'm sounding a little abstracted. Anything could be improvisation, but it's more of a case of this defining of structure in this working process that we all have. You're finding avenues to get to the result. And those avenues, those choices that we make, all those little decisions of material and then of the rules and definable process that I'm only going to use these colors, or I'm only going to use this block of space. All of those sort of things is the little. That's what I'm referring to, and that's the pure improvisation point of it all, where that's where all the majority of decision making would be for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. I love that description of almost like the limitations and the borders that you kind of place on a project can be part of the improv. That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that, but that actually makes a lot of sense.
Cool.
Yes,
Well,
Scott. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just without that, I'm watching a group of students right now, and they're just freaking themselves out on this big project, and it's because they have absolutely no limits, and they're not setting any limits for themselves, and they have a looming deadline. So it's like an infinite amount of possibility with a looming deadline. It's like the worst case scenario for a creative. And anyway, it's just fun to watch them not know what to do with like no limits. And it's like you make up your own rules, and you make up, and you work within the constraints of that creatively. And that's a really the only way to go. Otherwise, nothing is ever finished. Like you never have anything to push against or to rebel against. It's just kind of,
you're always going to have that kid that's it's the 11th hour. Why don't we just carve it out of cheese? And you're like, that has nothing to do with what we've been doing.
Yeah.
But there's always that I'm a free form creative. Yeah. It never works.
Honestly,
out
though, I kind of want to see an illustration carved from cheese. Like, honestly, like from my perspective, I'm like, let's see it carved out of cheese. Let's make this happen.
Why not, right?
Yeah. So, Scott, what about you? Like, how do you kind of incorporate improv into your own stuff? Yeah. What about you, Scott?
Well, that's what I was mentioning earlier, because I thought that I was thinking, I don't know if I do, but
yeah,
Christopher kind of corrected me. Yeah, I guess to me, the closest that I feel like that I'm improving is just in the brainstorming process, just throwing stuff at the wall, see what sticks, and but I love the idea, if nothing else, is just like an exercise to do something. Like, it'd be just super fun to kind of just challenge myself and do something like Christopher does every single day, and just, okay, yeah, get me, set some time. I mean, I've been setting aside at least an hour a day just to work on Young and the Dead.
Nice.
But if I can, if it might be cool to find some time just to do something real quick like that. I don't know. Just it just seems like an just amazing creative exercise, and just kind of see all that, how that comes together, and it's really cool being able to actually watch the videos, because before, when the first time Christopher reached out to me and sent me the book, and I did a video on it because I was so amazed, because I just that's something I hadn't seen before, all these one-page comics. Yes, that book right there. And the funny thing is, so reading the book, like, oh, that's funny, and then there's some of them that I'm just like, I don't get it, am I stupid? But then you watch the videos and you see how a lot of these are just like inside jokes. Like, if no one watched this show, the Artcasters, the one he did on us isn't going to make any sense at all to somebody. But he doesn't let that, he doesn't. But it's not. I guess it's not for everyone. But the cool thing is, and I was just thinking this, that it's probably a lot of extra work for whatever the next volume is. And I don't know how many people would actually take the time to do it. But the fact that now you've chronicled these videos so people can see what's going on, I mean, it might be interesting just to put like and again, this is a lot of work, but a QR code that links back on each comic that links back to the video, so you can see a
lot of QR codes.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of. But I understand that. I think Corey told me that, or we found out that I don't know if you have InDesign, but I guess InDesign can generate those QR codes. And if you don't, there's a bunch of other places that can do that. But
I literally
not that I
use
expected
I
you to
only
go
use
to all that
Photoshop.
trouble. Okay, but not that I expected you to go to all that trouble. But I was just thinking, or just say you could just put a link, say, go to my YouTube channel and search for this particular comic or whatever. But I think that's really cool that just you get to kind of see how this stuff comes together.
Well, with each of the streams that I do, the title card for each stream is just the page that I did that I just posted that day.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the title card, the day before is the episode where I do it. And I was looking through all of the videos that I've been posting for my stream, which is called "Everybody Wants to Listen to My Podcast."
And I love the fact that you changed that from
podcast.
nobody.
That was last year.
Because you got to make that happen. You can't. I mean, you don't want it to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So
Yeah, well, next year's going to be
I love the fact
somebody.
that you changed that.
I've already got next year's planned. It's going to be somebody wants to listen to my podcast. Each year I'll switch
I like
it
the
up to
double
something else.
podcast. That really makes it.
That's just, I think that having the double podcast it's almost like a little preamble or a little pre-warning. This is what you're getting into. He's this ridiculous. So
I love it. I think thinking about it, it's like, conceptualizing, like kind of like along the lines of what Scott was saying. That's the one area where I do feel very improvisational. Like at my day job, if it's under a deadline and you have to really quickly come up with like out of the box, concepts that are new ideas or a clever take on an old idea, stuff like that. Often there is this weird thing. I'm just trying to kind of iterate this to comics because I haven't really applied this to comics as much. But there is this kind of thing under the heat of deadlines and looming pressure.
Yeah.
You have like a spaghetti at the wall type meeting under those conditions, and like really creative ideas fly like real fast and get really quickly like boiled down into something feasible that can be executed. And it's an interesting thing to think, because there's like this energy to that you feel, I think all of us have felt like in-house. And it's kind of hard to replicate like of your own volition, right? Because it's like there is like a looming pressing need to get this thing done, to come up with an idea, to generate a new idea or a new concept. And the only two kind of points that I feel like I really heavily improvise are that, especially concepting when I used to do t-shirt design a lot, that would be a very improvisational thing where I'd even often have like long phone calls with friends where we're just throwing ideas back and forth until an idea gets kind of like honed out and seems like something executable. But it's an interesting, it's a whole different game trying to take that and turn it into an entire comic page. And like, again, but I can see the intrigue, like I can see the appeal of it, because that is it's kind of a fun challenge. And also to an extent, you're somewhat limitless. So like each time you do it, you can kind of set new parameters or new limitations, which is kind of cool.
It sort of leaves you unfettered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's how I feel anyway.
It is interesting though, because I do see you on your streams kind of make conscious decisions that limit the page itself, so that so that you can actually move forward.
Yep.
And so you'll be like, okay, for this one, I'm going to use these materials or whatever, or it's going to be in this like color palette, or, and it's interesting to see those decisions made on the fly. It's just, I think people should watch it to kind of get a Windows view on the kind of decisions you have to make on each comic page, regardless of if you were doing a new page or if you're working on like a long-term story. Because seeing you work through those in real time and then come up with like really out of the box layouts and stuff is just super fascinating and inspiring,
Thanks, guys.
Just want to answer Jim. Jim was asking if we can re-show the episode thumbnail. Not only will we show that, we're going to show the actual comic that it's from in about 5 or 6 minutes. We're going to go through all of Chris's stuff. Sorry.
For anybody that's here, thank you to Josh for loading up all these pages. we're gonna put a page up tonight that is my first one-page comic collaboration with another artist that I really respect. But it's not been seen before. It's brand new just for tonight's Artcaster episode.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an exclusive to the Artcasters.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. So we're gonna go through a couple of these one-page comics just to give you guys like a visual example of the kind of things that Chris is doing on his stream. Chris, maybe like as we go through these, maybe just give people a clue on what the initial prompt was.
Sure.
That kind of led to it, and then how it kind of evolved from there. I don't know if we're gonna read through all of these entirely, so I'd encourage you guys follow Christopher on Instagram. You can check out every single one of these following Christopher Runciman on Instagram. So, okay, here we go. So I'm gonna pull it up. And we'll go through.
I'm gonna be really in depth and say things like, "This one's from my inner turmoil from my childhood."
I like it. You're like, this was my blue period. This was my green period.
Except it's green. Yeah.
This was my rainbow period. Okay, here we go.
There we go. That's fine. So okay. Why don't I talk about medium?
Yeah, please do, because they vary on like almost all of these.
So this is a construction pencil that I drew this page with. I've got these. I like big, thick, huge pencils because I'm a gorilla, and so it's that, and it's the highlights, the emphasis blacks are a ballpoint pen, or is the whole thing ballpoint pen? No, it's pencil. It's pencil with ballpoint. And then all of the modulated backgrounds are done in Photoshop. It's just me playing with screens and filters and having fun. But all of the different images are drawn on in this case, it's 11 by 8.5 by 11 pieces of heavy grade cardstock. And then I just move things around and put it together and do what I want with it. And the notion of the story tends to come together. Okay, so first off, the one-page idea here is the mail order ads in the back of old comic books. What if they really gave you superpowers? That's the suggestion. And my hypothesis is that's a bad idea. So this the whole thing about this is the wonder and the sort of I'm gonna turn into a turtle, but then when these kids get these abilities, it's chaos, and so that's why I structure it as, remember when comics had cool ads in the back, and just example why this is a bad thing. So this was a fun one.
I love it, and I love the idea of kind of going. It's kind of almost like doing an editorial illustration or something where you're not only getting the prompt, but you're also putting a twist on it, which I think is really cool.
I always try to find my own perspective. Even whatever suggestion I'm given, I'm always going to turn it a little bit sideways, right? Just because I don't want to draw somebody else's script. I don't want to draw specifically this notated. So the first panel should be like this. No, that's not happening. And it's that's the improvisation part. That's the part that fills my creative need. Is that what's your crazy idea? Off I go. Right.
I love it. Yeah. So I guess
how many people are disappointed by that, but I haven't had anybody tell me yet. I don't like that. I don't like it.
I think it's brilliant because again, it allows for play too, and it seems like to do this kind of thing and to keep a momentum and inspiration, you would need that ability to play and kind of run with an idea. Ooh, this one's interesting. Talk about the medium of this.
This is a 3-word prompt from Didi, and the three-word prompts are seagull, devil, and coral. And so this has been contested by one of the people that are on my stream regularly with us because she thinks I was going to draw a whole coral reef, and meanwhile in the bottom panel I just say we found them up by the coral reef. And just because that was more interesting to me than actually drawing it, just the idea, because that cue hopefully lets the reader go, oh yeah. Because sometimes it's important that the viewer, spectator, the audience you have to allow provocation. You have to allow them to engage their own thoughts in what they're reading and what they're seeing. So if you spell everything out completely and fill it full of diatribe, they're not going to do it, because it's all there. They're not going to enjoy that. They want to invest in that process. So that is a really overly winded explanation for a potential cop-out. But it's just fun to have because somebody also threw in an additional thing while we were doing it is make the seagull try to poop on cars. And so that's what the whole beat of this page is.
I love it. I love that, and I love the fact that it kind of evolves too. I've seen this happen in the chats on Christopher's streams. You guys are missing out if you haven't participated in this. All right, let's continue to the next one. This looks really familiar to me. Creation Flickers. And by the way, when this posted up, I had not seen the stream initially where this was being concocted or suggested. I just saw it on Instagram and was like, I absolutely love this. Like, I thought this was one of the funniest things I've seen. Do you want to kind of run through what this is?
It's an alternate universe of the Artcasters. And so it's basically you meeting alternate universe versions of yourself. And so I present it like so Scott is happy and he's so encouraging and uplifting. So I made him a goth. I just flipped the table on him. Corey's got such insights into AI and algorithms and the way that the systems of control are all impeding ourselves in the world that we live in today, which is very true. So I turned him into a social influencer, which is, this could have gone so wrong. And Josh is a right-wing mega guy.
Which everyone who watches this knows is spot on 100%.
He's in a bunker.
I love the ammo in the background too. It's hilarious. And I think
Gotta be ready, buddy.
Like frog feet too.
I suggested the bandolier belt of bullets there on the live show. Yeah,
I absolutely love it. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was definitely some inputs coming in there as we were working on this.
So, and then Bella Lugosi is our guest on this too. How did that come about?
Just that.
Oh, there's more. I didn't see this part.
Yeah, there's a second page. The Bella as the guest is just my inanity coming into play. So it's here you guys are trying to have this structured conversation with your guest. You're trying to do the thing that you guys do where you engage your guest and let's talk about some kind of topic, and all this guy has to say is yes. So right, very counterproductive. So the bottom three panels is where all right, I think that I get it, Scott says. And Corey's drawing away. So he says precisely. Right, and then Josh, Scott's a goth. So, I mean, this could have gone really, really wrong, and it's a testimony to the good character of you guys that you see this and go, okay, as opposed to that guy's a psycho.
No. It was, honestly, anybody out there who gets insulted by a drawing of them, even if it's a silly one, it's that's one of the most flattering things somebody can do.
It happens,
even if they're riffing on you.
I'm just vain enough that I want to be mocked in most people's comics.
Yeah.
So.
Corey's going to be going into a lot just for that statement alone.
Speaking of which, maybe this will be a teaser for a possible future guest, but I believe that Scott you and Corey are in a comic coming up that we might maybe have a guest
Oh,
Nice.
shortly.
yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That will be a good guest.
I love it. That is awesome and made
So
my
this is
day
a
when you
2-page.
posted it.
Oh, thank you. Well, this is a 2-page comic. So if I feel like I want to take it a little farther, I'll just add a page. My grandkids were over with me. I was surprised one day on a PA day that I didn't know existed. And so that 2 of the kids are, can they hang out in your studio, Dad? Oh, okay. The kids are with me today. So you guys are going to do a comic with Grandpa. And the output of kids is extraordinary. So we did a 6-page comic in 2 days.
Wow.
And it's ridiculous. It's from their suggestion of Mars attacks Earth and fails at it miserably. That was their suggestion. And it's just freeform fun. But that's a 6-page, 1-page comic, right? And this one's 2 pages. So I'm on 115, but I'm actually at 127.
Nice, because
of all those extra pages.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that you allow yourself to do that too, just in case there is something that needs to go a little bit further.
Well, yeah, why not? Why not? Like that's the whole shtick, right? Like, is that you're following that inspiration, you're following that improvisational beat. And if the song needs to be longer, the song needs to be longer.
Ooh, that could easily lead into another graphic novel, though.
It could.
I think about how Young and the Dead started for Scott, right? That's a good example where it kind of started as like a short, almost improvisational thing. Mm. And then from there, I don't know, Scott, if you want to kind of get into that, how it started versus where it evolved to.
Yeah, I feel like told the story, but I'm a million times, but I'll tell it again. I don't mind. Yeah, it was part of there was a thing, Kevin Cross, who was one of the original Artcasters, started this thing called the Mini Comics Dump Truck. And it was a thing where everyone got together and they would trade, they make an 8-page mini comic and you get to trade it back and forth. So nice. The idea was at the end of, I think it was a 3-month thing, maybe. But the end, everyone gives everyone the comic they create. So you create one comic and you get like 10, 12, 15 in return. I forgot how many people contributed. So you end up getting all these cool mini comics. So I started off, wanting to create an 8-page mini comic. And I'm just trying to think, well, I just want a simple concept, something that'd be fun that I could do in 8 pages. Something like kids fighting zombies. That's simple. Just have kids fighting zombies. And then when I started working on it, I'm like, there's more to it than this. I'm liking these characters. And then before I knew it, like I had a whole, I don't know if I had the whole 6-issue story arc complete then, but I definitely had a story there. So it started with something that I was really trying to do, something just basic, because just off of a concept, because most of my things, I everything to me kind of starts with like a hook or some kind of a quick concept or something first, like kids fighting zombies. Okay, cool. I'd like to see that, but then I kind of go overboard with it. So
no, but that's the thing. That's the creative process. That's where you've taken this idea and you're just going to build on it further, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if I can ever keep it to like a 1-page comic, because like even the simplest idea, because I tried to find the simplest idea I could think of, and then it ended up being a 6-issue story.
You're not a lot of these 1-page comics though that I'm doing. They're not a story. They're not a whole story. They're a scene or they're a moment. Like and I try to fit in all kinds of little tidbits. Like the previous page to like on the first Flickrs page. Like I try to put tidbits in here. Like Scott, you say, here I make my comic book, The Ever Living Old People, which is a play on the young and the
bizarro
dead
world,
right? It's just it's the opposite. It's so it's those little, you can put all these little tidbits of ideas in there, but you're not focusing on fleshing it all out, right?
So I have a question.
You're sprinkling bits.
I have a question regarding that. Not that it would be creation flickers, but another, have you had times where you're touching on something in a 1-page comic that maybe extends to 2 pages or something like that, where you're like almost like putting a bookmark in it for later because you're like, man, that would be fun to like expand out to a whole world. Because I totally empathize with Scott on that, like where I feel like I'd probably try this exercise for like 2 days and then I'd have my next graphic novel in front of me,
One of the first pages that I finished off this year is a 26-page book now. So I did a thing about 2 kids going to a haunted, an old derelict property.
Yeah.
And the little girl gets lost. Well, that was a 1-page comic suggestion. And
awesome.
now it's a 26-page book called A Village Haunted.
I love it.
And it gets into this whole thing about the old man McTavish and his life story, and the old mill being shut down because of his melancholy and all these little bits, just little ideas and little explorations along the way. And so I illustrated those 26 pages in 4 to 6 page chapters, and switched characters for the next 4 to 6 page block. And so I'm trying to finish that off to put it out now, as well as we're trying to figure out, do I just publish the first 100 1-page suggestions for the next volume, or do I try to curate them and be a little more refined in the ones that I've got? So we'll be putting out a 1-page comic extravaganza, volume 2.
Awesome.
So
I'm looking forward to it, and I will root for include as many as you possibly can because they're so fun to see. But curation's all up to you. This is another one that you included, and I get a kick out of. And again, this kind of cracked me up. I think I was watching your stream, and I think Jim or somebody had brought up like what'll happen in the next 500 years.
Yeah.
And I was just joking that the Kremlin, which is my nickname for people who watch my blog, would take over the world. And just as a joke in chat, not realizing this would actually become a comic. And lo and behold, I think this was like a week or so ago, I look at my Instagram and here it is. The world of Kremlin. And you just ran with it and turned my stream into like the dystopian future that comes when the Kremlin takes over. I just thought it was so hilarious.
Well,
what did you use for this, by the way?
I got away with calling you the Kremlinator, and so then when you started calling people that watch your stream the Kremlins, I'm like, oh.
Is that a floating ice skating rink?
It is it's some sort of vista looking at the big statue of Josh's face on the side of the mountain. But yeah, it's this is drawn in a colored pencil, just one of these color erase pencils.
That's awesome.
And then I put it in a computer and I flip that to a black line, and then I do all the coloring in there, and put some clouds in the sky, things like that. Put the fencing around the floating island there, and a little bridge. But and then I tried to make the first. This is my favorite moment, the most risky game ever played, and I tried to make it look like a video of Josh playing Risk. And of course, when he talks about conquering the entire map at the top, that's a Risk board. Right, so taking Josh's whole playing Risk games in his stream, and just fitting all of that into this comic about in 500 years, the Kremlin overtakes the world.
I love that.
So there are 6 in 500 or 500 years from now suggestions, and as of today, 5 are done. So.
I love it. We have one coming shortly that might be another guest of Artcasters might be in this collaboration that we have coming up pretty soon. So let's go through this. Bella Rocks.
Bella's return.
It's an old K-Tel commercial. Collecting all of his smash hits, new from All Positive Records. You know, it's just, it's in this universe. Bela Lugosi is a rock star as much as he's a movie star. And so the list of songs is as many songs I could think of that are, that have blood or teeth or whatever in the title. And then there's a couple little things in there like Hot Blooded by Foreigner.
Nice.
But Hot Blooded is a duet with Bela Lugosi and Josh Groban. Just the worst possible duet I could think of.
I love it.
And then, of course, the last song on that list is Close to You by the Carpenters. So these are jokes that I'm making. I don't know if anyone ever gets these things.
Yeah.
Right? Jim just said, I want this Chris fella drug tested. I think if anything, there's always that joke about when Keith Richard dies, we need to cremate him and smoke him. But because he's got all of the drugs from the 1970s. He has all of them in him.
Oh yeah, visibly so. Yeah.
You could probably get away with like whatever natural lunacy that's going on in here, and I don't know, trying the same sort of method. I don't know if it'll give you any results, but please wait until I'm done here.
That's true.
You know. But this was a fun one.
You got Iggy Pop, the Rolling Stones, and Christopher Runciman. Will have suspicious cremation results if cremated. Yeah. That's amazing. I also just love the Bela Lugosi bit, and it feels like this. One of the things I like, and I think I'd encourage people to watch his streams, because one thing you'll see is like some through lines, like. There's a Bela Lugosi before. There's like Bela Lugosi kind of comes back. There's a lot of little things like that kind of occur during these streams that are really fun to watch, where it's like some recurring threads and stuff that kind of seem to kind of run through.
They just come through with the suggestions, right? Like it's just whatever people are on about.
I love it.
This is a page about jelly beans.
This is the best though. I feel like this one we should almost read a little bit.
It's two groups arguing about beans. So there's the red group and then there's the blue group. Point, counterpoint. It's absurd. And I drew this in marker.
Oh, I love it.
Felt tip marker. So
I
you
just
guys
love
can read it. If you guys want to read it, you're more than welcome to. But yeah.
Do it on the I'd encourage you guys to go to Instagram, but I'll read just a few lines. We will justify anything we can do to control the beans. We don't want to even call them that anymore. We are upset. We want power. Don't say too much. And it's all these people arguing about jelly beans. It's kind of amazing.
Well, it's the arbitrary thing. It's anything. They're arguing about anything. It doesn't matter. It's point, counterpoint. Like I've got tennis rackets for the show logo. It has nothing to do with beans.
I love it.
It's the arbitrary argument, a discussion program concerning today's issues.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the end workup just required a hold me back kind of moment. So intense.
Yeah, it's fun.
What did you use for this? Sorry to keep asking for medium.
Felt tip marker.
Really cool. Nice.
Yeah, these ones.
I love it.
These random. I got them at a dollar store.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like that would pair well with Corey Kerr's election bots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta have fun with these ideas, and like with Corey's ideas and some of my ideas, there's some similarities in there. I just did a page that I posted. I think today's is about. I did a Scientology page today.
Oh, I'm excited to see that.
And but I used David M as the visual, but the things he's saying are from Hal L.
That's kind of perfect.
Yeah. So, but it's a little cathartic exposition there, and because it doesn't end well for them.
That's awesome.
This is all fish jokes. Everything they say is fish related.
I love it.
You sure know how to tackle a big one, Bob. Tackle him, Bob. You could go through each sentence and try to find the fish reference.
I love it, and I love the variety and the kind of ranges of humor too. But also, just for people watching this, check out Christopher's one-page comic extravaganza too on his website. His website's linked below.
That?
Yes.
So this is I changed formats. This is portrait format, and the ones that I've been doing here are all landscape format. But this is what I was. These are some of the ones I did last year, and then you get 2-page spread ones like a Viking berserker that wants to take a little me time, or a comedian that gets transformed into one thing he hates the most, a clown, and it's Jerry Seinfeld. But it's just whatever. It's just fun, right? Like this page is the fish are watercolor. The 2 guys and the big fish he's holding, that's pencil crayon.
I love it.
And then it's just unifying them in Photoshop.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really enjoy a lot about your work, Christopher, is not only is it like playful in the subject matter and kind of honestly the pace with which it's done, it's the variety of medium you're kind of using to approach it.
Well, I'm proficient at a bunch of medium. I wouldn't suggest that I'm a master at any of them, but I have fun with a lot of different ways to make art.
I might have jumped the gun a little bit too soon,
okay.
so I slid back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
jump it.
Artcasters, Clark Clasters,
Creator Flickers.
Yes, Creation Flickers exclusive reveal. This is Christopher and Jim Lujan's jam.
Oh, cool.
Bagoom.
So
look
this,
at
this scientist character keeps appearing in all these 500 years from now pages.
I love it. Yeah, he was on the vacation one, right?
He's in the Kremlinator one. He's in the scientists. In 500 years from now, scientists will go for vacation in Peru. Or 500 years from now, science will try to convince people that rocks are interesting. These are the suggestions for these pages. And so this is a scientist exploring alternate realities. But the suggestion from the Kremlinator was science will figure out the Lujan verse in 500 years. And I'm like, there's no way I can replicate the quality of Jim's drawings. I love his style so much. I'm a big fan. If you haven't checked out Jim Lujan's YouTube channel, you're missing out, plain and simple. There's so many good animations there. So I drew the top bar of the scientist, my mad scientist who's always shouting science, right? And then wishing people happy birthday or Merry Christmas at the wrong times. So he does his science. He makes a doodad. He made a thingy to go and visit him, a doodad. And so he teleports himself to Jim's universe. And so I gave that to Jim. And I sent it to Jim, and Jim sat down and laid out that whole bottom half of the page. And
That's
then
so
we talked about what they might say to him. And so there's a whole bunch of references in here to Jim's films, to Jim's animations.
Yeah.
And so this is literally the first time we're showing it. It literally finished today. So
I'm
that's
so
why Gary
excited.
was saying you never saw this one. Yeah, you wouldn't have.
Nobody has.
Yeah.
Premiere.
This is an exclusive reveal at this point. I'm sure this will be posted to Christopher's Instagram
we'll post it for
shortly. But I'm already seeing like so many things, like including killer corgis.
Not corgis. They're Pomeranians.
Pomeranians. That's right. Pomeranians.
Specifically, they're military grade Pomeranians.
That's right. And then we also have we also have the werewolf child. We've got all sorts of
John Henry Unicorn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Bow to the power of the unicorn. Sexy beast, or I'm sorry, pleasure beast is in there. I saw her first
Daddy.
before I saw Diablo.
I love it.
And then there's a little hint at the end of full fungus. Oh, hey, Gary's saying that too. Bits of full fungus are in this piece too.
That's true. And actually, you guys should be following Jim's channel as well, because he played some cuts of the full fungus, like the music, the jazz music.
Yeah.
There's some sneak peeks on Jim's channel. So if you guys haven't yet, you should make sure you're subscribed to Jim.
He also sneaked this character here. No, that's a foul, man. That's a foul thing, he said. That guy there. That's the one animation piece that he's shown on his, hey man, how's your movie going?
I love it.
So
also,
you sound just like the guy who said that.
Yeah, I was going to say your voice sounds really familiar in regards to Jim Lujan. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I'm really honored that Jim asked me to do some voice work for him. That's it's kind of fun. He gives me great lines, like some of these lines that he gives me. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll read that. But you got to look at it for a second and go, yeah. I think he gets that it's the right headspace.
I love it.
Yeah, and then there's up in the posters at the top is space trucks. That's for you Star Trek fans, and space fights. That's for you Star Wars guys. And then beside that is the midget for fans of the Lord of the Rings. So it's just we're always trying to just fit little things in everywhere, right?
Yeah,
that's what makes the pages gives them a little more complexity, but it also gives a second reading a little more fun, because the second time around you go, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah,
you know, I did a stream recently where I went through the first 100 since the start of the year, and there were I'm going to be honest, there were pages there that I went, oh yeah. because I'm turning them over at such a rate that I'm like, right, that one, yeah. I don't think I brought. I don't think I gave you this one. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm gonna try to pull this up on my little spot here for a second.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, if we see something, we'll pop it up there.
There it is. This is Jim. This is Jim Luan's suggestion of a horse riding a bicycle playing guitar on top of a fourth dimensional parallax. This is one of the most mental ideas I've ever been given. So that's my only guest appearance in one of the stream pages, is me saying, stop. The ideas you come up with during your recreation time might be nonsense to others. So that's
hilarious.
So that's, you gotta have fun. Oh, I'm huge.
Hold on.
Yeah, with all of these pages, and if I can just one more time thank Jim again. It was so great. To have that opportunity to have somebody jump in and join in on a page, more so than everybody joins in on the pages during these streams. That's the whole point of it. Like, I'm a big fan of working with others, but also working through process with others, so that maybe it enables them to engage in their own creative direction.
Yeah.
In their own time, right? Every month here in London, Ontario, Canada, I run a comic jam. And so it's a 3-hour night where we sit down, somebody draws the first panel, and then slides that page into the center of the table. They're done. You don't get to go back and do any more panels on that page, but somebody else takes that page and does the next panel and follows your narrative and adds their own secret sauce to it, right? So by the time we get to the end of a page, there could be 9 panels on it. There could be 4 panels on it. But whatever you thought you were starting off in your first panel, rarely is that how it ends.
Yeah.
right? But you get some fantastic interactions with those. And if anybody out there in that's watching the stream here or watching, if you get a chance to engage in that creative process with other people, it's amazing how it opens up your receptivity to other ideas and other opportunities in your own thought process to grab something else, to improvise something else, because you're so used to these left turns, right? And so all the people that are involved in sorry, Jim Lujan wrote, right now Corey's lighting looks like the Doors album cover.
That's true. I was almost expecting it to be like, this is the end.
I'm surprised that Jim didn't say that we look like a Kiss album cover. But the four of us like this.
I have an album cover that I might have to bring out a little later in.
Nice. So all the people
that I think of a lot when I see Corey.
all the people that engage in a stream are contributing to whatever it is that we're doing for whatever page. And
yeah,
I really appreciate that. But I think that this is the first opportunity I've had where somebody's actually drawn on the page with me. So it's very compelling. And I got another one lined up already with another artist that I greatly respect and who's got something coming out very soon.
That's awesome. That's exciting.
Pre-orders are up now.
I want to throw out there the idea that a lot of what Christopher is doing could be really educational too for like people who might be kind of hung up on starting a comic, or like potentially might have had an idea and just kind of sat on it for a long time and been like, yeah, well, maybe when I get, further down the road, I'll start this thing. Because one thing I love and admire a lot about Christopher is the fact that like he will sit down and commit and kind of go from start and close to finish, or at least get like a massive headway. And by the next day you see a finished page. And he kind of commits to it. And what's interesting to me is just kind of seeing the process of fearlessly kind of approaching an idea. And I think that actually is really good to see as a possibility, I think, for people out there. I know for me, I've been inspired by it too. So
that's great.
Because it does require like a lot of, strangely enough, like a lot of artistic bravery to just kind of commit and be like, like, again, I know how that horse thing came out because there were two ideas that came out of that you made into comics. Because we were just joking about how effortlessly you were drawing a horse, because that's something a lot of artists complain about. And then we were joking, well, maybe you could draw like we were just trying to make it worse. Like, I think I said draw horses and hearses. And you did all of it.
That's a page.
Yeah.
Horses and hearses ended up being a page.
But I love that you'll tackle it kind of fearlessly and be like, no, like I'll actually do that. And what's funny is even the Dee suggestion of a coral reef, knowing you, Christopher, from your streams, you probably would have drawn the whole reef if it had worked for the bit. And so I really admire that. And I think a lot of people can learn a lot from that. So if you guys are watching, definitely make sure you're subscribed to it.
The other thing I think people can learn from the people that struggle with, well, where do I get ideas from?
Yes.
And Christopher's coming with an idea every single day. And a lot of these are just prompts people are throwing at him. You can make a comic based on anything. I mean, if you're hung up on an idea, don't be, because I mean, you just pick up a dictionary and put your finger on a random word or whatever, and there's your comic. I mean, don't let that stuff frighten you. And you can definitely see the way Christopher handles that.
Well, I appreciate that, Scott. I mean, there's so I did a page the other day because I wanted to draw a bear. So I did.
Oh, I love this one.
I did a page called Pit of Fear, and the suggestion is 7 characters in a pit of fear, right? Pretty open-ended. I want to draw a bear. That's my whole shtick. So I did this.
Oh, let's make this full screen.
It's a guy waking up in a pit with a number of other people, and you're free to count them. And then the 7th character is a bear. And as soon as I posted this, Joshua jumped right on it and went, I love that the bear's waving. I'm like, I'm really excited that someone actually got it. But it's a cautionary tale of shh, you don't want to fight the bear. That's my whole motivation. That was the whole. So everything else is improvising all of these people stuck in a pit that have to go and fight in an arena. Whoever's making the most noise gets picked by whoever has them captured in a pit. I don't explain that. That doesn't matter. That's the whole thing. It's not a whole story. It's just this moment. And this moment ends with, you don't want to fight the bear. So I try to do it with a serious intent, this setting this tone and setting this sense of danger or whatever's going on, and you're getting this information about what the whole scenario is, to be left with a waving bear.
I love it. And the thing that I love about this is I saw this and I saw like when you posted it. And just the fact that the bear's kind of given like a, hi, how's it going, guys? It's me, the bear. It's the best. Just
Hello.
Because of the tone, you know, I think that's another thing that I think at some point we'll have to have you back on to just talk about like pacing and timing in comedy, in comics. Cause again, like that's kind of perfectly set up to where it's,
well, any of the stuff that's
I can see that go one or two different ways with the bear waving. Like it could either be hi, you know, he's just a friendly bear, or hi, I'm gonna eat you now. It's like,
yeah.
Well, hello there.
Dee Dee's response to it was, "You did."
Yeah,
right. That's what Dee Dee thought is. But that's why I didn't put any text there, because whatever that's the thing about the viewer, the participant, the viewer participant situation, is that you want to have your reader to be engaged, and a way to do that is to allow them to input. You give them opportunities to input what they think it means or what they think the resolve of it is. And so in a case like with the bear, the 4 of us probably have different responses. Like, Corey, what do you think the bear is saying?
I'm sorry, I was drawing. I didn't see the bear.
Wait, we got to pull up.
He's like the guy in the comic. The what?
Okay,
the what?
So this is a page I did, and it's called Pit of Fear. The suggestion is 7 characters in a pit of fear.
Yeah, I was listening the whole time. I just didn't see the bear. So
I try to tonally set it up to have menace and dread, and it ends with, shh, you don't want to fight the bear. The what? And there's the bear.
yeah, I like the totally blank and expressionless face of the bear. Yeah, I would just say like, hey, you know, it's kind of like, hey, what's up, man?
I think the bear should be saying, I'm sorry, I was just drawing. I like that.
I like Gary's line there. Odd thing for the bear to say. I'm sorry, I was drawing.
It also looks like the bear has a sleeve but no shirt. Is it?
No, it's like when you look at the underarms of bears, right? They're not all full of hair.
Oh, okay.
A lot of times the underarm of a bear, and in this area here, because they brush up the most against things and dig into things.
I haven't been that close to a bear, so
you got to move to Canada.
It's a Canadian thing.
See now, Chris, if you talked about like scorpion nests, then Scott would be all over that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we see
because apparently one of the most horrific things I can even imagine is just a very commonplace thing where Scott lives.
We were talking about this like on a few of these where it's just funny how acclimated to environments we all get, where it's like, for me, like earthquakes aren't that terrifying. Like it's
Right.
just like part
Yeah.
of California. So it's like, okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not looking forward to an earthquake, but it's not like on my list of like all of my worst nightmares, because I've like experienced earthquakes before and they suck, but like I'm used to it. And it's like similarly like Black Widows, same thing. Like in our area of California, in SoCal, like Black Widows are just a part of life. Like, but it's funny because like Scott has talked about stuff before where like I've said stuff like that and he's like, oh man, those are terrifying. And then he's like, yeah, scorpions, they're just like a big, it's whatever. And we're like, what? And Corey and I pressed him on it. He was like, yeah, I mean, people like have to move out of their houses because of scorpion infestations. And we're like, wait, this just happens? Like,
You live in the wrong place.
because if I saw like a scorpion today, like on my floor, I would lose my, like, I would be yelling like a little girl. Like, that's just one of the most terrifying things I can imagine.
I have a thing. I think Christopher might have the same thing. I know Josh does for certain, but like a random thing will present itself, and I'm like, well, I'm going to learn everything there is to know about that now.
Oh, yeah.
And I was unaware until that conversation that scorpions are arachnids.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I just thought they were like alien creatures.
They also glow under a black light.
They glow under a black light.
Bioluminescent. So, yeah.
And they also sing about winds of change.
And if they are annoyed,
the
by
whistling and everything,
if they the city lights, if they are annoyed by and like ants or something enough, they will commit suicide. They'll stab themselves in the back of the neck and just like, this is annoying, I'm out. But they're arachnids. They're like they're not a spider, but they're in the arachnid family.
Yeah,
they don't have 8 legs, or they don't have 6 legs. They have 8, so they're not insects.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Welcome to more facts about scorpions.
But this is also kind of integral to the whole idea of improvisation.
Right.
I think that creatively, especially if we're storytelling, whether it's storytelling visually, whether it's storytelling textually, whether it's the comic infusion of both together, it's really important to engage in the larger world. It's really important to read. It's really important to learn. It's really important to pay attention, right? Because those little bits, those little bobs that are all around you in the world, right? Oh yeah, dinosaurs, chickens. Yeah, I got to draw a chicken. I'm going to draw a chicken that looks like a dinosaur with chicken feathers on it. You know, whatever random connective things you can put together in your head, because you know that, you know, we used to think dinosaurs were largely just lizards, but we realize now that they're more related to birds. You know, so you can take this random notion or random tidbit of whatnot, and incorporate it into whatever it is that you're working on. And
so one of the things along those lines that I've been doing lately with this intentional creativity series that I'm like haven't done in a month, but a big part of that is never let a question go by that you don't chase down. Like anytime you wonder about something, immediately write that down and chase that rabbit hole. And go all the way down, because what you're actually doing, because creativity doesn't come from nothing. Like a lot of people who are not creative mistakenly think that creativity is some sort of an innate gift, you know, or that something that the gods or the muses or the genius or whatever blesses you with, or whatever. In reality, creativity comes from the mixture of existing material. You're creating from something. And so if you have this kind of natural curiosity, kids are naturally creative because they don't know anything.
Yeah.
And they learn everything about everything. Like I just saw something the other day, and it was like a meme that was like, hey, quit making fun of your parents for, you having to teach them technology. They had to teach you how to use a toilet. You know what I mean? Like at some point in time,
Never thought
we
about
didn't
that.
know extremely simple things.
Yeah.
And the most learning that we ever did was when we were in a state of like constant wonder.
Yeah.
And if you want to become creative, if you're not creative, the biggest part of that is to regain that kind of childlike wonder so that you start cataloging all of those little card catalog files. There's a dated reference for you. So that when you come out with this, and like Christopher's really good at this, he can just be like, oh, there's a thing and there's a thing. And he's got 15 little cards of these little factoids or rabbit holes that he's dove down that he can pull out and make those kind of connections to kind of build these things that so it's occurring to me as I'm talking through this, that a huge part of improv is in the preparation of being curious about everything so that you have stuff to draw from, or there's just nothing to go off of. Like Robin Williams just knew something about everything. Like you could just toss something out and he would riff on it.
Yeah, like on the microfiche of ideas. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to state my ideas too. No, but actually riffing on what Corey's saying, I did a video recently just about kind of resparking creativity if you feel burnt out as like a graphic designer or illustrator. And I think Corey, much as usual, much more eloquently kind of got to the point, one of the points that I was trying to bring up there. Chris is talking about it too, where there is this sense of improvisation with your thoughts that will lead you to creative ideas. And a lot of it is just letting your mind wander and like allowing yourself to ask, oh, but why? Oh, but why? Like, or what further? Like, taking a basic concept of something you see, and like, even if you're just walking down the street, to just kind of start dissecting things and like thinking about those things and the things within those things. And I think this bears out in artistic life too. Like I've definitely, one of my favorite one-page comics I ever made was the result of me just walking through a city and just wondering how weird it was that like everything is handmade, and yet like we have this weird idea that everything's like manufactured and like made in these like made by like robots or computers or something. But it's like the concrete you're walking on is hand poured and handmade, and just starting to think about like the profound implications of everything around you is like literally crafted within a city.
Yeah. And everything
starting
around you is drawable, right?
Yeah. But like thinking about that, or like just ideas that come to life when you're thinking and you're allowing yourself to kind of chase an idea, I think is a really good. I agree with like Corey and Chris on that. And with that being said, you guys should be subscribed to Christopher Runciman's channel, because he'll show you like from a simple prompt in a chat, whether it's absurd or not. It might be your prompt if you're watching it, and like it's amazing to see him run with an idea and chase it and kind of add his own twist to it and kind of make it into a thing, which is really what we're all trying to do, right? So it's nice, very inspiring.
I think it's, speaking of out of date references, right? I always make I'll always make a statement that somebody says, where do your ideas come from, or how do you make those connections? And I refer to having a Rolodex of thoughts and tidbits of everything in my head, which is again out of date, right? But it's okay. So if you're learning how to do brickwork on a house, and you're building a brick wall, and you're in the backyard, you're fixing your chimney, whatever it is. When you're drawing that, think about the bricks, right? Think about the bricks, think about how they feel, think about how they go together, think about that information that you learned from laying some bricks. So then when you go to sit down and draw your brick wall, you'd be surprised how much more of a tactile sense you have of it, and how much more readily you're prepared to draw that wall. Yeah. Right. So with taking that example and just throwing it across the board, that's how my noggin works when it comes to, I just think about, oh, okay, well, a fish on top. All right. And I draw a fish on top. And so if I highly advocate people try that. I highly advocate that people just close their eyes for a second and go through that Rolodex in their head and think about, well, I know what a fish looks like, and I'll draw some lady's legs. And then, so here you go. You got this notion in your head. Just start working it out on paper. And then it just becomes the routine, the discipline, and the deliberacy of practice and repetition and getting better with your drawing skills over time. So that when you're pressed in to draw a reverse mermaid, you can access the Rolodex in your head and start breaking that down into basic shapes and drawing your reverse mermaid.
I love that.
And another thing along those lines, I just keep going back and forth with things you're saying.
No, it's great.
In case anybody's wondering, you can buy a microfiche machine for between $40 and $400 on eBay, because I just looked, because I thought those are so cool. I haven't used microfiche in a long time.
I kind of want one. It always felt cool doing research when you had to go in the back and you had to like use this thing and like the little toggle wheels.
I know the noise, the sounds that it made, and like the weird like kind of crude stream that's on it.
And I'm imagining most of the time there's an older librarian who's kind of walking you through, okay, here's how you use the fiche. And you're like, wow, this is amazing. They're like, yeah, it's okay. You want me to zoom in here? You're like, yes, enhance.
But another thing that I find really valuable, I'm finishing a video while we're talking on this, is reverse engineering what things actually look like, rather than the symbol system that our brain gives us to navigate the world. And as you do, every time I do that, it becomes another one of those cards in the card catalog. Like, and I did this with a group of students today. I was like, let's go outside and we're going to spend 20 minutes. And I want you to kind of break the code of something natural. Like, figure out what the difference between pine bark and oak bark is. Like, there's a pattern to that. There's a difference. Like, I don't want you to be able to describe it. I want you to be able to draw it without looking at it. You have 20 minutes to figure it out, or like a pine cone, like they have patterns to them. And if you can figure out like the difference, what's the difference between a rat face and a mouse face? And like, you kind of know that in your mind because you've figured it out on paper, then you're able to kind of do that type of thing. Because I think one of the things that's amazing about what you do, Christopher, is that you can kind of just draw a lot of that stuff on the fly. And that's not a natural thing. Like a lot of people mistakenly think that artists are like, oh, they just know how to draw everything. At some point, you have to like break the symbol system in your brain, find the actual form of the thing, and like catalog that in your mind. And then you can kind of either reference that or pull that up. But the more that you do that, the more you'll find really interesting, totally unrelated things that have similar patterns. And so it all kind of builds on itself. The neurologists call it a rich connection network. And the richer your connection network in your brain is, the more easily you can add more things to it because there's more connections. And so when you add something to that, it kind of activates the whole network again, and it starts to go, oh, that's like this and like this and like this and different than this and this and this. And so as you add those types of things, the more that you do that, the better that you will understand how everything is.
Yeah. No, it's exactly it. It's the ability that you have for foregoing the trepidation, for letting go of the concerns about how do I get into my project. So here's a problem. I have a disconnect. I don't understand why people can't just get into their projects, because I'm at a point now through experience and repetition and whatever's firing up there. I just go into things.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you say, reverse engineering that, Corey, and going back from that, let go. If you have a problem with drawing on white paper, people will see in the stream all the time is where I'll take Post-its and tape and whatever tissue paper and just start gluing it and taping it down on the piece of paper I'm about to draw on. and then I'll draw the comic over top of it. And those elements will just be within there. And so if I have some anxiety about wanting to mar the perfect paper, when you start throwing things down on that, well, you're already invested in the paper. Just draw.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if my tree's going to look right. So what? The next tree will look better. You know, just those, whatever things come across your path to make you feel are holding you back, or, you know, the defeatist logic, just whatever you can do to just push that aside.
Yep.
And just allow yourself to step into whatever you're in. Eventually, over time, if you just draw whatever random comic panels, comic pages, eventually over time, you've got something that can stitch into some kind of narrative.
Yep.
So before you know it, you've done your book.
I love that. I also think, like, you know, those moments when you're drawing, and you face something that's a little scary at first, like you're like, oh man, I'm a little nervous about drawing this kind of tree. I've never drawn a tree like this. Or like Corey was saying, like, oh, I haven't really drawn a rat or a mouse. Like, what's the difference? Those moments where you're like, you kind of have like a little bit of fear. Usually that's a good indicator that that's exactly what you should be drawing right now.
Yeah.
I was terrible as an artist at drawing backgrounds for like ever. I still am like, okay at drawing backgrounds, but it just had no interest for me to draw backgrounds. And it was only until I started doing long form comics where I had to redraw the same background like 50 times where I started really learning how to draw backgrounds.
Sure.
And the only way to do that is just don't skimp around it. Like if that's something you feel needs to be there, like force yourself to draw it, you know. It's like this a sign of maturity as an artist too. Like you know, younger artists like are like, oh, I don't want to draw hands, so I'm just going to draw everything without hands. But
draw
like,
tennis rackets.
Yeah.
there's no rules. That's the whole point. I can draw a tennis racket, then draw a tennis racket.
Yeah, agreed.
Why do all your people have tennis rackets for hands? It's my drawing. You know, it's my comic. This is the last thing I think I can give to people.
I love it.
Circle, square, triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that might watch this stream, draw these on a piece of paper and look around at the world around you and realize that everything can be broken down in those three shapes.
Word.
Everything. And as soon as you start figuring that out and looking at everything like that, you know, you can draw Josh's hat, you can draw Scott's headphones, you can draw all of that information on Corey's screen. Mm-hmm. It looks like Battlestar Galactica. There's just so many. It's funny that you mentioned that
because that's part of the video that I'm actually making right now.
Really?
Yeah, circle, square, triangle, and then if you convert those to 3D, the
Yep.
circle becomes a sphere and a cylinder. Mm-hmm. The triangle becomes a cone or a pyramid, and then the square becomes a cube. And if you understand the shading of those five shapes, you can shade anything.
Yeah, that's like the secret code. Speaking of, I think that'll take you to the magic of the moment on a glory night. For the children of tomorrow dream away. I think that is where that'll take you. In the winds of pain.
That you've got to be careful not to be rocked by any hurricanes. So that's the challenge.
Well, here I am, Corey.
Okay.
All right, guys. We've been going like a good hour and 45 minutes. Always inspiring, Christopher, having you on. Fun to have you back on. If you guys are watching this and you haven't yet, you know, go subscribe to Christopher Runciman on YouTube. He does these daily, and they're really inspiring, as we've talked about ad nauseum. Make sure you're subscribed to Corey, right? Because he's got this video coming that he was showing you little teasers about that'll tie into this stuff. And also, you know, if any of you guys go and get a microfiche machine, hook this up with the Intel on it because it sounds really cool.
I talked about an overhead projector that I have in the closet in my house here. A real old overhead projector. Anybody can have it if you just come and get it.
Oh, that's true.
Can I just? I just have to. This is the coolest piece of technology ever. This is the focus ring of the microfiche. So like this part right here on the right, that's the knob that sticks out of the front.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it has a 90-degree turn, and the way that they've dealt with the 90-degree turn is just a rubber. I can't remember what you call that, but just like there's just a piece of rubber there. And so it's like, it is such an elegant solution. There's like a little geared focal ring turner that's just on this knob. I love 80s technology.
Yeah.
Like,
And on the exterior of that, there's an old librarian adjusting her glasses and just blasting through the microfiche. I love
telling
that.
you to turn off your headphones.
Well, Christopher, thanks for coming on. A lot of good food for thought for people. So it's about time we close out. So why don't we make the rounds and let everybody know where to find us? I'll start, and then we'll kind of go for me, Corey, Christopher, and then Scott will close us out. You're on my channel. If you're watching this, I see there's like 13 people watching this right now. There should be 13 likes. Let's make that happen. Let's make it happen right now. Hit like. And also there should be, if any of those 13 or now 14, I guess, watching right now are not subscribed to Christopher Runciman's channel, after they hit like on this video, they should go hit that subscribe button so that we see, 13, 14 more subscribers on Christopher's channel.
Make sure you're subscribed here.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, that too. If you guys are already subscribed and already hit like and already have hit the bell and already are subscribed to Christopher, thank you. And we appreciate you guys. Thanks to everybody in the chats. It was a fun one. Let's see here. What do we got? Okay. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in the chats, but I can't get to it.
Frank made a couple of suggestions. If I wrote the two that came from Frank down for one-page comic suggestions. If anybody else put one out there that I've missed, contact me through social media or through the stream tomorrow, whatever, and let me know it, please, because I don't want to miss anybody's input. Awesome. I love it. I love that. I appreciate that.
Awesome. So if you guys haven't, hit subscribe, all that stuff. Make sure you bought my comic 2 Stories and Jacob's Apartment. Corey, where can people find you? How can they support your work? And I have this awesome mug from a coffee shop, but I hear there's mugs out there with your art on them. And I hear beverages taste a lot better with a Corey Kerr mug. Am I wrong?
Scientifically proven, actually. You guys need to buy my mugs so that I can afford to buy a microfiche reader now. So yeah, just go to coreykerr.com/store. And I've got a couple up that are kind of new that I haven't done in the newsletter yet. So kind of some exclusives here, but, and if you go to coreykerr.com/email, then you will get the occasional and random kind of thoughts that come from my brain that turn into art, emailed directly to your inbox. So you get around the billionaire algorithms showing you only what they want you to see. You get to see what I want you to see instead. So go check that out.
Love it. All right. So Christopher, one last time, where can everybody check you out? Where can they follow your stream and check out like you making these one-page comics? Where can they watch them after they're posted? All that stuff. Let people know where to go.
ChristopherRunciman.ca is my website where you can see different books and different already existing projects. And on my website are links to Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, YouTube, and a specific link to the daily stream.
I love it.
Yeah, come on out and have fun. If you've got mad ideas, it doesn't matter what your ideas are. Let me know. And we'll give it a shot.
I love it. And he will do that shot swimmingly. All right. Scott, where can everybody find your stuff? And then after that, how do they keep track of this crazy stream?
So you can find my comics and comic making tools and my website, circworks.com. There's tons of cool stuff there. Go check it out. You can also find my content on my YouTube channel. Haven't been posting anything new, but there will be new stuff hopefully coming sometime in the hopefully near future. But there's still a bunch of other stuff there, all kinds of videos on making comics, including Making Comics 101, which is basically everything you need to know about making comics. Most comprehensive course for free you're going to find on comics, so check that out. And then this show we do, the Artcasters, we do this show every single week. And it kind of rotates back and forth between, well, not my channel anymore, but Corey's and Josh's channel. And they can get a little confusing. So here's what you do. You just join the mailing list, and it's real simple. You just click on the link in the description of this video, sign up for our newsletter, and we don't spam or anything. All we do is usually about 30 minutes before we go live, we give you the link. We tell you who the guest is going to be, what day, all that stuff. So definitely check that out and subscribe to that newsletter. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. And we will see you on the stream next week on Corey's channel.
So thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Absolutely.